Beyond the Plate, a spiritual journey to veganism, a quest for compassion, consciousness, and radical change by Jamie Love. The information presented in this book is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, medical advice. The author is not a medical professional, and the content of this book is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or before making significant changes to your diet or lifestyle. Reliance on any information provided in this book is solely at your own risk. The ideas and perspectives expressed in this book are solely those of the author and are intended to inspire thought and personal reflection. They are not presented as absolute facts or scientific conclusions. Readers are encouraged to conduct their own research, explore multiple perspectives, and use their own discernment when interpreting the concepts shared in this book. The author assumes no responsibility for how the information in this book is interpreted or applied. 2024, Jamie Love. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the author, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. Table of Contents. Introduction. Part 1, Breaking Free from the Illusion. Chapter 1, The Illusion of Necessity. Chapter 2, The History of Meat Consumption. Chapter 3, The Marketing Machine. Chapter 4, Cognitive Dissonance. Part 2, The Spiritual Dimensions of Food. Chapter 5, The Energy of Food. Chapter 6, Conscious Eating. Chapter 7, Humanity's Evolution. Chapter 8, Envisioning a New Future. Part 3, Navigating Societal and Religious Conditioning. Chapter 9, Breaking Traditions. Chapter 10, Compassion and Religion. Chapter 11, Expanding Consciousness. Chapter 12, Individual Choices, Collective Impact. Part 4, Living a Compassionate, Conscious Life. Chapter 13, Ethical Veganism. Chapter 14, Environmental Stewardship. Chapter 15, Health and Vitality. Chapter 16, Compassion in Action. Conclusion. Introduction. The Awakening. From as early as I can remember, I was different. I grew up in a bustling Italian-American household where the aroma of simmering sauces and roasted meats filled the air during every meal. Food was more than nourishment. It was a tradition, a celebration, a connection to our roots. Yet, even before I drew my first breath, I somehow resisted the norms of this culture. My story begins not with me, but with my mother. During her pregnancy with me, my mother, who was otherwise an avid meat eater, found herself repulsed by the sight, smells, and taste of animal products. She couldn't stomach them, so she turned to a vegan diet out of necessity while pregnant with me. When I was born, that aversion only deepened. I refused meat, not out of knowledge or rebellion, but as if it was a part of my very essence. My parents tried everything, but I wouldn't have it. The taste, the texture, even the smell of meat made me physically ill. Exasperated, they took me to a doctor who, in his wisdom, remarked, "She'll probably outlive all of us." And just like that, they stopped trying to feed me meat and accepted that I would grow up as a vegetarian. At the time, I didn't understand what any of it meant. To me, food was just food. No one explained that the chicken on the table was once a living, breathing being. There was no connection made between what we ate and the world around us. Meat was simply what people ate. And I didn't. It wasn't a statement or a choice. It was simply who I was. But life, as it often does, had other plans. It wasn't until years later, when I embarked on a journey of self-discovery, that I began to connect the dots of my story. My aunt getting cancer was the spark that ignited my awakening and inspired me to go fully vegan for health-conscious reasons. Moving to Los Angeles years deepened my awakening even further. Immersed in a thriving vegan community, I encountered individuals whose passion for compassion and ethical living illuminated a new path for me. At first, my plant-based lifestyle was purely about health. I had already delved into raw veganism years prior, having a profound transformation on every level as my body responded with an energy and vibrancy I had never experienced before. But something deeper was stirring within me. The ethical awakening came later. I began to see the world and my place in it with new eyes. What had once been a simple choice to avoid animal products became a calling to advocate for the voiceless, to protect the vulnerable, and to align my actions with my deepest values. It felt as though I had been preparing for this moment my entire life. I initiated a global movement within the raw vegan community, uniting compassionate individuals from all over the world through the Raw Food Worldwide meetup. It wasn't just about food anymore. It was about connection, consciousness, and the possibility of a more compassionate humanity. I felt as though I was stepping into my purpose, fulfilling a mission that had been waiting for me all along. And yet I often wonder, was my mother's aversion to animal products during her pregnancy a mere coincidence, or was it something greater? Was it my soul's mission manifesting even before I was born, guiding her choices to align with the destiny I was meant to fulfill? These questions remain unanswered, but they have shaped my understanding of the interconnectedness of life, the synchronicity of the universe, and the profound potential for humanity to evolve. This book is not a self-help guide. It is a vision, a statement, a call to remember who we are and who we can become. It is a challenge to question the traditions and beliefs we have inherited and to see the world through a lens of compassion and consciousness. It is an invitation to imagine a future where humanity rises above the dense energies of fear, violence, and separation, to embrace the lighter, more harmonious existence we are destined for. We are not merely flesh and bone. We are light beings, spiritual entities with the capacity to vibrate at higher frequencies. Yet, as a collective, we are weighed down by the dense energy of animal-based foods, which tether us to the cycles of fear and suffering that pervade our world. This is not about judgment or superiority. It is about possibility. What could we become if we freed ourselves from these energies? What if we embraced the life force of raw fruits and vegetables, alive with enzymes and vitality? What if we fed our spirits with the energy of the sun, the earth, and the love that connects us all? This is the awakening. It is a journey of dismantling societal indoctrination, addressing the cognitive dissonance that allows us to harm while claiming to love, and cultivating a consciousness that sees all life as sacred. It is about envisioning a humanity that evolves into beings of light, radiating compassion, love, and unity. I invite you to step into this vision with me. This is not just my story, it is our story. It is the story of what humanity can become when we choose to awaken to our highest potential. Together, let us imagine and create a future where compassion reigns, where the earth thrives, and where humanity ascends to the brilliance of its true nature. Part 1. Breaking Free from the Illusion. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Necessity. Challenging the illusion. For centuries, we've been told a story so ingrained in our consciousness that it feels as though it's written into the very fabric of our existence. This story tells us that we need meat to survive, that it is the cornerstone of strength, health, and vitality. It whispers to us through cultural traditions, nutritional dogma, and relentless marketing. It reassures us that consuming animals is normal, natural, and necessary. But what if I told you that this story is a myth? A comforting illusion designed to keep us tethered to old paradigms that no longer serve us. The truth is, humanity does not need meat to thrive. Our survival, our strength, and even our joy are not dependent on the consumption of animals. In fact, as we begin to question this deeply embedded belief, we uncover something extraordinary: the potential for humanity to evolve, to rise above the dense, fear-based energies that have shaped our collective consciousness for far too long. The science of plant-based living. Let's start with the basics. The idea that meat is essential for survival is not rooted in some immutable truth of nature. It is a construct, a belief that has been perpetuated by centuries of habit, convenience, and more recently profit-driven industries. Yes, humans are adaptable beings capable of consuming a wide variety of foods, but adaptability does not equate to necessity. Just because we can eat something does not mean we must. When we examine the science, the picture becomes even clearer. Decades of research have shown that plant-based diets can not only sustain human life, but also promote optimal health, Whole plant-based foods provide all the nutrients we need: protein, iron, calcium, omega-3s, and beyond, without the harmful effects associated with animal products. Studies have repeatedly linked meat consumption to chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, while plant-based diets have been shown to prevent and even reverse these conditions. The evidence is undeniable. We do not need meat to survive, and in many cases, we are better off without it. The placebo effect. Belief shapes reality. But the illusion of necessity runs deeper than biology. It's not just about what we eat, it's about what we believe. Our beliefs are powerful. They shape our reality in ways we are only beginning to understand. This is where the placebo effect comes in, a phenomenon that reveals just how profoundly our thoughts and expectations influence our physical and mental well-being. Think about it. If we believe that meat is essential, our bodies will respond as though it is. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, shaping our cravings, our energy levels, even our sense of identity. But what happens when we challenge that belief, when we choose to see meat not as a necessity but as a choice? When we open ourselves to the possibility that there is another way, a lighter, more compassionate way to nourish our bodies and souls? This shift in perspective is not merely theoretical, it is deeply transformative. When we release the belief that we need meat, we free ourselves from the cycles of fear and separation that have dominated human history. We begin to see food not just as fuel, but as energy, a sacred exchange between the earth and our bodies. We recognize that the energy of what we consume becomes the energy of who we are, and what could be more powerful than choosing to align that energy with life, love, and compassion. A new vision for humanity. Imagine for a moment a humanity untethered from the illusion of necessity. A humanity that no longer views animals as commodities, but as sentient beings worthy of love and respect. A humanity that nourishes itself not with fear and violence, but with the vibrant, life-giving energy of plants. What might we become? How might we evolve when the very act of eating becomes an expression of our highest values? This is not just about personal health. This is about spiritual alignment. Every choice we make, every bite we take, either brings us closer to or further from the truth of who we are. We are not beings of scarcity, bound by the need to dominate and consume. We are beings of light, capable of thriving in harmony with the world around us. But to embody this truth, we must first let go of the illusions that hold us back. The placebo effect is not a limitation. It is an invitation. It shows us that our beliefs are powerful enough to shape our reality. So, what will you choose to believe? Will you cling to the old stories, the myths that tell us we must take life to sustain life? Or will you step into a new story, a story of abundance, compassion, and possibility? The illusion of necessity has kept humanity in chains for far too long. It has justified cruelty, perpetuated suffering, and limited our potential. But we are not bound by this story. We have the power to write a new one in which our food choices reflect the love and wisdom that dwell within us. This is not just a dietary shift, it is a revolution of consciousness. It is a reclaiming of our true nature as beings of light and love. As we dismantle the illusion of necessity, we begin to see the world and ourselves with new eyes. We realize that survival is not about domination, but about connection. That strength is not about taking, but about giving. And that true nourishment comes not from the destruction of life, but from the celebration of it. This is the awakening. This is the future of humanity. And it begins with the simple, profound choice to question what we have always been told and to envision what we can yet become. Chapter 2. The History of Meat Consumption. Every tradition has a story, and the story of humanity's relationship with meat is as old as time itself. But like many stories passed down through generations, it is worth asking, how much of it serves us today and how much of it binds us to an outdated way of living? To understand how we arrived at our current dietary norms, we must first look back. Only then can we begin to unravel the interwoven strands of tradition, culture, and industry that have shaped our beliefs about food. The early days, necessity and survival. In the earliest chapters of human history, survival dictated our choices. Our ancestors, living in environments often harsh and unforgiving, consumed what was available. In some regions, plants were scarce, and hunting became a matter of survival. Meat provided sustenance, calories, fat, and protein that fueled their bodies through cold winters and long migrations. It wasn't about preference or luxury, it was about enduring another day. But even then, our ancestors knew the significance of what they were doing. Many cultures revered the animals they hunted, expressing gratitude through rituals, prayers, and ceremonies. They understood the life taken and, in some way, sought to honor it. This reverence, however, was born of necessity. As agriculture emerged and civilizations grew, the reliance on meat as a primary source of sustenance began to wane in some cultures. Cultural and religious roots. Food is not just nourishment, it is identity. Across the globe, dietary traditions evolved alongside cultural and religious practices. In many societies, meat became more than sustenance, it became a symbol. For some, it represented strength, power, and abundance. Feasting on meat was a marker of status, a way to display wealth and prosperity. In others, it was tied to religious offerings, seen as a way to commune with the divine. Religious texts and practices played a significant role in shaping dietary habits. In some traditions, the consumption of meat was regulated or ritualized. Kosher practices, for instance, introduced guidelines meant to sanctify the act of eating. In contrast, other spiritual paths, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, advocated for vegetarianism, emphasizing non-violence and compassion as core tenets. But even in cultures that embraced meat eating, there was often an unspoken understanding of balance. Meals were not dominated by animal products, they were supplemented by them. The overconsumption of meat that defines modern diets would have been unimaginable for most of history. The Industrial Revolution, from reverence to exploitation. The seismic shift came with the Industrial Revolution. What had once been a relationship marked by balance and, in some cases, reverence, transformed into one of exploitation and excess. With the advent of industrial farming, the production of meat was no longer tied to the natural rhythms of the land or the dignity of the animals. It became mechanized, commodified, and scaled to feed a rapidly growing global population. Industrial farming introduced factory-like efficiency into agriculture, and with it came a staggering disregard for the lives it affected. Animals were no longer seen as beings, but as units of production. Cows, pigs, chickens, all were reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet, their suffering invisible behind the walls of slaughterhouses. The impact of this shift was profound. Meat, once a luxury for many, became accessible and cheap. Global diets transformed as meat consumption soared. The sheer availability of meat created a cultural expectation that it should be present at every meal, that it was not only normal but necessary. But this abundance came at a cost, one far greater than the price tag at the grocery store. Industrial farming is now one of the leading contributors to environmental destruction. It fuels deforestation, pollutes waterways, and drives species to extinction. The methane emissions from livestock contribute significantly to climate change, and the energy required to produce meat far exceeds that of plant-based foods. The cost in terms of suffering, both human and animal, is immeasurable. Revisiting our relationship with meat. As we stand at this crossroads in history, it is clear that the practices and beliefs surrounding meat consumption are overdue for examination. What began as a necessity for survival became a cultural touchstone, a symbol of abundance and tradition. But now, in a world teetering on the brink of ecological collapse, it is time to ask, do these traditions serve us any longer? Or do they hold us back from the future we are meant to create? We have reached a point where the consequences of our dietary choices can no longer be ignored. The rise of industrial farming has not only shaped what we eat, but also how we think about food. It has distanced us from the natural world and dulled our empathy for the lives impacted by our choices. It has perpetuated the illusion that humanity stands separate from and above nature. But this illusion is crumbling. Around the world, people are awakening to the truth that what we eat shapes not only our bodies, but our spirits, that our connection to the earth and its creatures is sacred, that compassion, not consumption, is the true mark of abundance. A vision for the future. Imagine a world where we honor the earth as our ancestors once did, where our dietary choices reflect not dominance but harmony, where we understand that every meal is an opportunity to align with our values, to nourish not only our bodies but also our souls. This is not a return to the past, but a leap forward, a future where humanity rises above exploitation and embraces a way of living that is sustainable, compassionate, and aligned with the highest truths of our existence. The history of meat consumption is not just a story about food, it is a story about humanity. It is a reflection of our values, our choices, and our evolution. And now, as we write the next chapter of this story, we have the opportunity to choose differently, to honor the past while stepping boldly into the future, to create a world where our traditions are guided not by habit but by wisdom and love. The question is not whether we can change, it is whether we will. Chapter 3. The Marketing Machine. There is a machine, vast, relentless, and calculated, that has permeated every aspect of our daily lives, shaping how we think, what we eat, and what we believe. This machine does not serve our highest good. It is not aligned with compassion, health, or the evolution of humanity. Its purpose is singular: to profit. You can call it the marketing machine, and nowhere is its power more evident than in the narrative it has crafted around animal products. From the moment we are born, we are bombarded with messages that tell us meat and dairy are essential. They are strength, they are vitality, they are tradition. These messages are so pervasive, so persistent, that they blend into the background of our lives, becoming truths we rarely question. They come to us in the form of slogans, jingles, commercials, and billboards. They are reinforced in school curriculums, dietary guidelines, and even government policies. But make no mistake, these messages are not truth. They are carefully constructed illusions designed to keep us consuming. The illusion of strength and vitality. Think of the advertisements you've seen: a rugged cowboy herding cattle, a family gathered around a turkey at Thanksgiving, a sports star guzzling milk after a game. These images aren't just selling products, they're selling identities. They tell us that eating meat makes us strong, capable, and connected to tradition. They link meat to ideas of masculinity, family, and success, turning it into more than just food. It becomes a symbol of who we are, but these symbols are manufactured. They are created by marketers who understand that food is deeply personal, that it is tied to our emotions, memories, and identities. They use this understanding to manipulate us, to make us feel that choosing anything other than meat is a rejection of our culture, our values, and even our worth. The power of money and influence. Behind these messages lies an industry with immense financial and political power. The global meat industry is worth billions of dollars, and it is deeply entrenched in the economies of many nations. Its influence extends far beyond advertisements. It shapes policies, funds research, and controls narratives. Consider this: the dietary guidelines that are taught in schools and promoted by governments are often influenced by the very industries they are meant to regulate. Meat and dairy producers fund studies that conveniently conclude their products are essential for health. Lobbyists work tirelessly to ensure that subsidies keep meat prices low, making plant-based alternatives seem expensive by comparison. Politicians dependent on campaign contributions often turn a blind eye to the environmental and ethical costs of industrial farming. This is not a conspiracy theory, it is business as usual. The marketing machine operates with precision, using its vast resources to ensure that the status quo remains unchallenged. And in the process, it silences the voices of those who question it: scientists, activists, and even entire communities advocating for a different way. The hidden costs of the machine. The marketing machine doesn't just influence what we buy, it influences how we think. It creates a culture where questioning meat consumption feels radical, even threatening. It perpetuates the idea that a meal without meat is incomplete, that plant-based living is fringe or elitist. These beliefs are not accidents. They are the result of decades of deliberate messaging. But beneath the surface of this carefully constructed narrative lies the truth. The cost of this machine is staggering. It comes at the expense of our health, as diets rich in meat contribute to chronic diseases. It comes at the expense of our planet, as industrial farming drives deforestation, water pollution, and climate change. And it comes at the expense of our souls, as we participate, often unknowingly, in a system built on exploitation and suffering. Awakening to the truth. To dismantle the marketing machine, we must first see it for what it is: a construct. Its power lies not in its truth, but in its ability to go unquestioned. When we begin to question, when we look behind the slogans and the imagery, we find a reality that is far removed from the glossy advertisements. We find a system that prioritizes profit over people, animals, and the earth. Imagine for a moment a different kind of messaging. Imagine if the resources spent on promoting animal products were redirected to promote compassion, sustainability, and health. Imagine if instead of commercials glorifying burgers, we saw images of thriving gardens, vibrant fruits and vegetables, and people living in harmony with nature. Imagine if the narrative was no longer about domination, but about connection to the earth, to ourselves, and to each other, a call for awareness. The marketing machine has thrived in the shadows, operating under the assumption that we will accept its messages without question. But awareness is its greatest enemy. When we see the machine for what it is, we can begin to dismantle its power. We can choose not to be manipulated by its imagery and slogans. We can choose to align our actions with our values, rather than with the profits of an industry that does not serve us. This is not an easy path. It requires courage to question the norms we have been taught to accept. It requires strength to resist the pull of convenience and tradition. But it is a path worth taking, for it leads to a future where our choices reflect not the influence of a machine, but the truth of who we are. As you reflect on this, I invite you to see the marketing machine not as an insurmountable force, but as a challenge to rise above. Its existence is a reminder of our power, the power to question, to choose, and to create a new narrative. A narrative where our food choices are guided not by profit-driven slogans, but by compassion, consciousness, and the vision of a better world. Let us be the ones to rewrite the story. Let us be the ones to silence the machine. And in its place, let us build a world where truth, love, and harmony reign. Chapter 4. Cognitive dissonance. Truth that challenges. Deep within us, there exists a subtle but powerful force, a quiet dissonance that hums beneath the surface of our thoughts. It emerges when we are confronted with a truth that threatens the foundations of our beliefs, a truth that dares to challenge the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how we live. This is cognitive dissonance, the mental and emotional conflict that arises when the reality we encounter does not align with the identity we have constructed. It is not simply discomfort, it is a moment of reckoning, a clash between the truth and the illusions we have grown comfortable with. Cognitive dissonance is not a flaw, it is a mirror. It reflects back to us the places where our actions, beliefs, and values are out of sync. But instead of embracing this reflection, we often resist it. We rationalize, deflect, or dismiss the dissonance, fearing what it might mean to face it. This fear is rooted in the ego, the part of us that clings to identity and certainty, that seeks validation in being right rather than being true. To accept a truth that challenges our current beliefs requires us to dismantle parts of the ego, and this can feel like losing a piece of ourselves. The resistance to change. When it comes to dietary choices, this dissonance can be especially profound. Consider the values most of us hold: compassion, kindness, sustainability, love. Now consider the systems we participate in when we consume animal products. These systems are built on harm, exploitation, and environmental destruction. The striking contrast between what we value and what we do leads the ego to intervene and shield us from this painful truth. We resist because to accept this truth is to admit we have been complicit in something that goes against our ethics. The ego rebels at this idea, conjuring defenses like, "It's natural, I need it for my health," or "one person can't make a difference." These justifications are not born from truth. They are shields, meant to preserve the fragile construct of who we think we are. But the truth remains persistent and unyielding, inviting us to step into a deeper awareness. The ego's fear of transformation. The ego fears transformation because it sees change as a threat to its existence. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar no longer serves us. To face cognitive dissonance is to step into the unknown, to admit that we may need to change not only what we do, but who we are. This process can feel like dismantling a house we've lived in all our lives, brick by brick, without knowing what will replace it. Yet this dismantling is not destruction. It is liberation. Cognitive dissonance is not here to punish us. It is here to awaken us. It is the voice of our higher self, calling us to examine the structures we have built and asking whether they reflect the truth of who we want to be. It is a gift, even if it does not feel like one at first. Embracing the truth. To navigate cognitive dissonance, we must first be willing to listen. Instead of silencing the discomfort, we must allow it to speak. What is it trying to show us? Where is it asking us to grow? This process requires humility, a willingness to admit that we do not have all the answers, and the courage to let go of the stories that no longer align with our highest values. As we listen, the ego may resist, but we can meet that resistance with compassion. The ego is not our enemy, it is simply afraid of change, of uncertainty, of losing the identity it has worked so hard to protect. But when we hold space for both the truth and the fear, something magical happens. The fear begins to soften, and the truth begins to shine brighter. The beauty of breaking down. There is a strange and profound beauty in breaking down the illusions of the ego. It is the beauty of realizing that we are not confined to the identities we have constructed. We are not defined by our past choices or our inherited beliefs. We are beings of infinite potential, capable of growth, transformation, and alignment with our deepest truths. When we step into this space of possibility, we find that cognitive dissonance is not the obstacle we thought it was. It is the doorway. A doorway to a life lived in harmony with our values, to actions that reflect the compassion and love we hold dear. It is not an easy journey, but it is a sacred one, for it brings us closer to the essence of who we are. Imagine a world where each of us chooses to face this dissonance, to break free from the ego's grip and embrace the truth that challenges us. Imagine the ripple effect of such a shift as individuals awaken to the power of their choices and begin to live in alignment with the values they hold in their hearts. This is not just a vision for the future, it is a possibility waiting to be realized. Cognitive dissonance is not here to break us, it is here to reveal us, to show us the places where we are ready to grow, to teach us the power of humility, and to guide us toward a life that feels whole and true. The ego may resist, but the soul knows the way. And when we choose to follow it, we discover that what lies on the other side of dissonance is not loss, but freedom. Part 2. The Spiritual Dimensions of Food. Chapter 5. The Energy of Food. Food is more than sustenance. It is energy, vital, vibrating, and alive. Every bite we take carries with it a frequency, a vibration that influences not only our bodies, but our spirits. The energy of food shapes our vitality, our emotions, and even the clarity of our thoughts. It is a profound exchange, one that goes beyond the physical to touch the deepest parts of who we are. But not all energy is the same. Some foods are dense, heavy, and low in vibration. They anchor us to the physical, creating stagnation and dulling our inner light. Others are light, vibrant, and filled with life force. These foods lift us, energize us, and connect us to something greater. The distinction is not just nutritional, it is spiritual. It is about aligning with the energy that allows us to rise into the highest version of ourselves. The weight of dense energy. Imagine for a moment the energy of a factory farm. Picture the crowded spaces, the fear in the eyes of the animals, the pain that permeates every corner. This is the energy carried by animal products, the energy of fear, suffering, and death. When we consume these products, we take that energy into ourselves. It becomes a part of us, not just physically, but energetically. Dense foods, animal products, and heavily processed items act as an anchor. They weigh down the spirit, tethering us to the lower vibrations of fear and separation. These foods carry the energy of their origins, the pain of animals, the destruction of the environment, the disconnection from the natural cycles of life. When we consume them, we inherit that energy. We feel it in our bodies as sluggishness, in our minds as fog, and in our spirits as disconnection. This is not to say that those who eat these foods are bad or wrong. We are all navigating our own journeys, making choices based on the knowledge and resources available to us. But when we become aware of the energy we are consuming, we have the opportunity to choose differently, to choose foods that align with the vibrancy and vitality we wish to cultivate within ourselves. The lightness of life force foods. Now imagine the energy of a sun-ripened peach, plucked fresh from the tree, Feel the warmth of the sun that nurtured it, the richness of the soil that fed its roots, the purity of the rain that quenched its thirst. This is the energy of light, of life, of creation itself. Raw fruits and vegetables are alive with enzymes, nutrients, and vibrational energy that connect us to the earth and to the universe. These foods carry the essence of life. They are unaltered, untouched by processes that strip away their vitality. When we consume them, we are not just feeding our bodies, we are nourishing our spirits. We feel it in the way our energy lifts, in the clarity of our thoughts, in the way our hearts feel more open, and our connection to the world feels more profound. The lightness of these foods is not just metaphorical. They are easier for the body to digest and assimilate, allowing our energy to flow freely. They support not just physical health, but emotional balance and spiritual clarity. They remind us of our interconnectedness, our dependence on the earth, and the beauty of living in harmony with nature. Food as a spiritual choice. What we eat is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual choice. Every meal is an opportunity to align with the energy we wish to embody. When we choose light, living foods, we choose to cultivate life within ourselves. We choose to honor the cycles of the earth, to nourish our bodies in ways that uplift our spirits, and to step into a higher vibration of being. This is not about perfection or judgment. It is not about strict rules or dogma. It is about awareness, about tuning into the energy of what we consume and making choices that feel aligned with our values and our aspirations. It is about recognizing that the energy of food is a reflection of the energy we wish to carry into the world. The evolution of humanity. Imagine a humanity that embraces this awareness, that chooses light over density, compassion over consumption, connection over disconnection. What might we become if our collective diet reflected the values of kindness, sustainability, and vitality? How might our spirits evolve if we freed ourselves from the heaviness of dense energy foods and embraced the life force of raw living plants? This is not just a vision for individual transformation. It is a vision for the evolution of humanity. As we raise the energy of what we consume, we raise the energy of our collective consciousness. We begin to break free from the cycles of fear and separation that have defined so much of our history. We step into a new way of being, one that is lighter, brighter, and more aligned with the truth of who we are. The energy of food is the energy of life itself. It is a reminder of our interconnectedness, our dependence on the earth, and our ability to choose harmony over harm. When we align with this energy, we are not just nourishing our bodies, we are nourishing our souls. We are stepping into the lightness of being, into the radiance of a life lived in alignment with love, compassion, and higher consciousness. What will you choose to carry into your body, into your spirit, into the world? The choice is yours. And in that choice lies the power to transform not just yourself, but the future of humanity. Chapter 6. Conscious Eating. There is a sacred relationship between ourselves and the food that sustains us. It is a relationship that reaches beyond mere consumption and nourishment. It is a profound exchange of energy, vitality, and life force. Yet in the modern world, this connection has become frayed. The act of eating, once imbued with mindfulness and reverence, has been reduced to a hurried necessity, disconnected from the sacred rhythms of nature. It is time to reclaim this connection. It is time to embrace conscious eating. Conscious eating is more than just being aware of what we put into our bodies. It is a practice, a way of being that invites us to approach food with mindfulness, gratitude, and intention. It calls us to slow down, to listen, and to honor the life force within every bite we take. When we eat consciously, we are not just feeding our bodies, we are nourishing our souls. The sacredness of food. Food is not just matter, it is energy. Every piece of fruit, every leaf of spinach, every kernel of grain carries within it the life force of the earth. It is a gift from the sun, the soil, the rain, and the countless unseen forces that sustain life on this planet. And when we consume food, we are partaking in this sacred cycle, absorbing the energy that has been lovingly cultivated by the natural world. But in our rush to modernize and industrialize, we have lost sight of this sacredness. Food has become a commodity, stripped of its vitality and disconnected from its origins. We eat without thought, without presence, without understanding the profound exchange that is taking place. Conscious eating invites us to return to this understanding, to approach food not as a product, but as a sacred expression of life itself. Developing a mindful connection. To eat consciously is to slow down. It is to sit with your meal, free from distractions, and truly experience the act of eating. It is to savor the flavors, textures, and aromas of the food before you, recognizing the journey it has taken to arrive on your plate. It is to honor the hands that planted the seeds, the earth that nurtured them, and the energy that has been passed from one form to another in a beautiful, unbroken chain. Conscious eating begins with awareness. It starts with asking questions. Where did this food come from? How was it grown? What energy does it carry? These questions are not meant to overwhelm, but to inspire a deeper connection with the food we consume. They are an invitation to choose foods that align with our values, that uplift our energy, and that contribute to the well-being of the planet. As we cultivate this connection, we begin to notice the subtle ways food influences us. We feel the lightness of raw fruits and vegetables, the vibrancy of freshly harvested greens, the grounding energy of nuts, seeds, and legumes. We also become attuned to the heaviness of processed foods, the lethargy of meals consumed in haste, and the discordance of eating without intention. This awareness is not about judgment, it is about alignment. It is about choosing foods that resonate with the energy we wish to carry into the world. Food as life force. Every living being is sustained by prana, the vital life force that flows through all things. In food, prana is expressed as the energy that nourishes our bodies and supports our spirits. Raw fruits and vegetables, untouched by the heat of cooking or the processes of refinement, are brimming with this life force. They are alive with enzymes, the catalysts of life, which carry the vitality of creation into our cells. When we eat foods rich in prana, we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of life. We feel it in our bodies as increased energy, in our minds as clarity, and in our spirits as a sense of lightness and connection. These foods are not just sustenance, they are a bridge between the physical and the spiritual, a reminder of our interconnectedness with the earth and all its inhabitants. Contrast this with foods that have been stripped of their prana, processed, refined, or overcooked until their vitality is diminished. These foods may fill our stomachs, but they do little to nourish our spirits. They leave us feeling heavy, disconnected, and longing for something more. Conscious eating is the recognition that what we consume is not just fuel, but a reflection of the energy we wish to embody. The ripple effect of conscious eating. When we eat consciously, we do more than transform our own lives. We contribute to the transformation of humanity. Every mindful choice we make sends a ripple into the world, inspiring others to slow down, to reflect, and to align their actions with their values. It is a quiet revolution, one meal at a time, that has the power to reshape the way we think about food and its role in our lives. Imagine a world where every meal is an act of gratitude, where every bite is taken with the awareness of its journey and its energy. Imagine a humanity that eats not out of habit or convenience, but out of love and reverence for the life force that sustains us. This is the vision of conscious eating, a vision where food becomes not just a means of survival, but a pathway to spiritual evolution, an invitation to awareness. Conscious eating is not a destination. It is a practice, a journey, an ever-deepening exploration of the relationship between ourselves and the food we consume. It is an invitation to wake up to the sacredness of every meal, to honor the life force within every bite, and to align our choices with the values of love, compassion, and connection. As you begin this practice, take a moment to pause before your next meal. Look at the food before you, consider its origins, its energy, and the journey it has taken to nourish you. Take a deep breath, and as you eat, let each bite be a meditation, a moment of gratitude, and a step toward greater alignment with your highest self. Food is not just what we eat, it is what we become. By eating consciously, we have the power to transform not only our own lives, but the future of humanity. Let us choose with every meal to honor this sacred exchange and to create a world where food is celebrated as the life force it truly is. Chapter 7: Humanity's Evolution. Humanity stands at the threshold of an extraordinary transformation. We are not merely physical beings, we are light beings, luminous and boundless, with the capacity to vibrate at frequencies that align with love, harmony, and infinite potential. For too long, we have been tethered to the dense energies of fear, separation, and survival. But now we are being called by the earth, by the cosmos, and by our own awakening souls to rise into a higher vibrational way of living. This is not a dream. It is a destiny. We are evolving, moving beyond the limitations of the physical and stepping into the truth of who we are as energetic beings. The journey toward higher vibrational living is not just an individual path. It is the evolution of humanity itself, a collective awakening to our divine nature. The call to light: from the moment we are born, we are conditioned to view ourselves as physical entities defined by our bodies, our possessions, and our place in the material world. But beneath this physical form lies an energy field, a luminous body that connects us to the infinite. This is who we truly are, beings of light, here to experience, create, and expand. Our choices, our thoughts, and the energy we surround ourselves with all contribute to the vibrational frequency at which we live. When we consume dense foods, entertain fearful thoughts, or engage in harmful actions, we anchor ourselves to the lower vibrations of survival and struggle. But when we choose light in our diets, in our relationships, and in our intentions, we begin to vibrate at a frequency that resonates with love, peace, and unity. This is not just about what we eat. It is about how we live. It is about recognizing that every moment, every breath, is an opportunity to align with the higher frequencies of our being. It is about understanding that we are not separate from the energy around us. We are a part of it, shaping and being shaped by the vibrational field of the universe. The shift to higher vibrations. As we embrace this shift, we begin to explore new ways of nourishing ourselves, not just physically, but energetically. This is where the concept of alternative energy sources becomes both mystical and profoundly practical. For centuries, mystics and sages have spoken of living not just by bread alone, but by the energy of the sun, the earth, the breath, and love itself. These are not mere metaphors, they are the keys to a new way of being. The sun, our life-giving star, radiates energy that sustains all living things. Its light nourishes the plants we eat, fuels the cycles of nature, and infuses our bodies with vitality. When we spend time in sunlight, we are not just warming our skin, we are absorbing a source of prana, the vital life force that flows through all creation. The earth, too, is a source of nourishment. When we walk barefoot on its surface, we connect with its grounding energy, releasing stress and absorbing the stabilizing frequencies of the natural world. This practice, known as earthing, is a reminder that we are not separate from the planet. We are a part of it, and it is a part of us. Breath, the most fundamental act of life, is also one of the most profound sources of energy. Every inhale and exhale is an exchange, a rhythm that connects us to the flow of the universe. Through conscious breathing, we can access deeper states of awareness, calm the mind, and awaken the body's innate healing potential. In ancient traditions, breath is seen as sacred, a carrier of prana that sustains not just the body but the soul. And then there is love, the highest frequency of all. Love is not just an emotion, it is an energy, a vibration that transcends all barriers and connects us to the divine. When we live in love, we are nourished on every level. We feel it in the way our hearts open, in the lightness of our being, and in the way we radiate peace to those around us. Love is the ultimate energy source, the foundation of higher vibrational living. The vision of breatharianism. Breatharianism, the practice of living with minimal or no physical food, may seem radical, even impossible, to the conditioned mind. Yet, throughout history, there have been individuals who have demonstrated that it is possible to sustain life primarily on energy, on prana, on light, on breath. These individuals remind us that our potential is far greater than we have been led to believe. Breatharianism is not about deprivation, it is about liberation. It is about transcending the belief that we are solely dependent on physical sustenance and opening ourselves to the idea that energy exists in many forms. While this path may not be for everyone, its existence challenges us to rethink what is possible, to question the limitations we have placed on ourselves, and to explore the boundless potential of being human. A future of light, Imagine a humanity that embraces its identity as light beings, a humanity that nourishes itself not with fear and exploitation, but with the energies of the sun, the earth, the breath, and love. Imagine a world where we are no longer weighed down by the dense vibrations of consumption and competition, but lifted by the lightness of compassion, connection, and harmony. This is not a utopian fantasy. It is a vision of what is possible when we choose to evolve. As we shift our consciousness, as we align with higher vibrations, we create a ripple effect that touches every aspect of our existence. Our relationships become more loving, our communities more compassionate, and our planet more harmonious. The journey toward higher vibrational living is not without its challenges. It requires us to let go of the familiar, to confront the fears and doubts that arise when we step into the unknown, but it is also a journey of immense beauty, a path that leads us closer to our true nature and to the divine essence that connects us all. We are not bound by the limitations of the past. We are beings of light, and the future is as luminous as we choose to make it. Let us walk this path together, nourished by the energy of life itself, and create a world where humanity thrives in its highest vibration. Chapter 8: Envisioning a New Future. Imagine a world where humanity awakens to its fullest potential, a world where compassion is the driving force, where harmony flows between people and the planet, and where the choices we make reflect not fear but love. This is not some far-off dream. It is the next step in our spiritual evolution. It is a future that begins with the simple yet profound act of choosing what we put on our plates. Plant-based living is more than a dietary choice. It is a statement, a commitment, a powerful alignment with the energy of life itself. It is a way of being that recognizes our interconnectedness with all living things and honors the sacredness of existence. As humanity awakens to this truth, we are not just transforming our bodies, we are raising our collective consciousness, shifting the very fabric of reality toward light, love, and unity. Aligning with spiritual evolution, humanity's spiritual evolution is a journey from separation to connection, from fear to love, from unconscious consumption to conscious creation. It is about remembering who we are, beings of light, part of an intricate web of life, with the power to create a world that reflects the divine essence within us. Plant-based living aligns with this journey in profound ways. When we choose foods that are vibrant, alive, and compassionate, we are choosing to resonate at a higher frequency. Animal products, rooted in cycles of fear and suffering, carry a dense vibration that anchors us to old paradigms of domination and separation. In contrast, plant-based foods, infused with the energy of the sun, the earth, and the life force they carry, lift us into a state of harmony and alignment with the natural world. This alignment is not just personal, it is collective. Every individual who chooses plant-based living contributes to the collective shift toward higher consciousness. It is a ripple effect where one awakened soul inspires another and another until the wave of change becomes unstoppable. This is how revolutions are born, not through force, but through resonance, through the undeniable power of living in truth. Raising collective consciousness. At its core, veganism is an act of love. Love for animals, for the planet, and for ourselves. But it is also an act of liberation. By choosing compassion over cruelty, we free ourselves from the cycles of fear and violence that have shaped humanity for centuries. These cycles, deeply ingrained in our systems and societies, have perpetuated the illusion of separation from nature, from each other, and from the divine. When we break these cycles, we do more than heal our bodies or protect the environment. We heal the collective soul of humanity. We heal our ancestral lineage. We set an example for our future generation. Every act of compassion, every meal prepared without harm, sends a powerful message into the world that we are ready to evolve, to step into a new way of being, one that reflects the unity and love at the heart of existence. Imagine the ripple effects of this shift. As we raise our consciousness, we become more attuned to the energies around us. We begin to see the world with new eyes, not as a place of scarcity and conflict, but as a realm of infinite possibility. Our relationships become more loving, our communities more cooperative, and our connection to the planet more sacred. Veganism is not just about food, it is a gateway to a deeper awareness of our place in the universe. Reducing fear, cultivating love. Fear has been humanity's constant companion, lurking in the shadows of our minds and driving much of our behavior. It is fear that tells us we must dominate the earth to survive, that we must take life to sustain life, that we are separate and alone. But fear is not our natural state, love is. Plant-based living is a rejection of fear and an embrace of love. It is a choice to step out of the cycles of harm and into the light of compassion. By choosing foods that do not carry the energy of suffering, we free ourselves from the weight of fear that has been passed down through generations. We open ourselves to a new way of living, one that is guided by the heart rather than the ego. This shift is not just spiritual, it is practical. When we live in love, our bodies heal, our minds clear, and our spirits soar. The energy we radiate affects those around us, creating a ripple effect of kindness and connection. Fear produces fear, but love produces love. This is the alchemy of plant-based living, transforming the dense energies of the past into the radiant light of the future. A vision for humanity. Picture a world where this vision is realized. A world where humanity lives in harmony with the earth, where our choices reflect our values, and where every being is honored as sacred. In this world, food is not a source of harm, but a celebration of life. Meals are rituals of gratitude, gatherings are infused with love, and the energy of what we consume lifts us higher rather than weighing us down. This is a possibility of a future that begins with each of us, with the choices we make and the energy we bring into the world. When we choose plant-based living, we are not just choosing health or sustainability, we are choosing to be part of a movement that is transforming humanity at its core. We are choosing to be architects of a new earth, one built on the foundations of love, compassion, and unity. The evolution of humanity is not something that happens to us. It is something we create. It is a co-creation with the divine, a dance of energy and intention, where every thought, every action, every meal matters. By aligning our choices with the higher frequencies of compassion and light, we step into our power as creators, shaping a future that reflects the deepest truths of our being. An invitation to awaken. The future of humanity is not written. It is waiting to be imagined, to be dreamed into existence. And it begins here, with us, with the simple yet profound act of choosing love over fear, compassion over harm, light over density. Plant-based living is more than a lifestyle. It is a statement of who we are and who we are becoming. It is a pathway to awakening, a bridge to the divine, and a vision of what is possible when we align with the energy of life itself. As you consider this vision, I invite you to see yourself not just as an individual, but as part of a collective awakening. Every choice you make, every act of compassion is a thread in the tapestry of humanity's evolution. Together we are weaving a new story, one that honors the earth, uplifts the spirit, and reflects the boundless love that is our true nature. Let us step into this future together. Let us be the light that guides humanity home. Let us envision a world where plant-based living is not the exception but the norm, a world where the energy of love transforms everything it touches. The journey begins now, with you, with us, with the infinite possibilities of a new earth. Chapter 9: Breaking Traditions. Tradition is a powerful force. It shapes our identities, gives us a sense of belonging, and weaves together the essence of our shared stories. But tradition is also a double-edged sword. While it can ground us in history and culture, it can also bind us, keeping us tethered to ways of being that no longer serve us. To evolve, both as individuals and as a collective, we must find the courage to question the traditions we have inherited and ask, do they align with the future we wish to create, or are they holding us back? To question tradition is not to reject our past, but to honor it by moving forward. It is an act of love for truth, for growth, and for the infinite potential of humanity. It is a call to step into the light of our own wisdom, to break free from the cycles of repetition that keep us stuck, and to embrace the possibilities that await us when we choose to live in alignment with our highest values. The weight of inherited beliefs. From the moment we are born, we are handed a set of beliefs, customs, and norms that shape the way we see the world. These traditions often come to us without question, passed down from generation to generation until they become a part of our identity. We accept them as truths, as unchangeable aspects of who we are and how the world works. But are they? Consider the traditions surrounding food. For many, the act of eating is steeped in rituals that celebrate family, culture, and connection. The Sunday roast, the holiday turkey, the barbecue in the backyard. These meals are more than sustenance. They are symbols of togetherness and heritage. To question these traditions can feel like questioning the very foundation of who we are. And yet, it is through this questioning that we discover the truth, that our traditions, while meaningful, are not immutable. They are choices, and we have the power to choose differently. The courage to question. To question tradition is to step into a place of vulnerability. It requires us to confront the stories we have been told and to examine whether they align with our values and aspirations. This is not an easy task. Tradition often carries with it the weight of expectation, the pressure to conform, and the fear of rejection. It can feel as though we are betraying our families, our communities, or even ourselves. But questioning does not mean rejecting. It means reflecting. It means asking whether the practices we have inherited are in harmony with the world we wish to create. It means recognizing that while tradition may have served a purpose in the past, it is not always suited to the present or the future. It is an act of love to honor the past while embracing the possibility of a better way. Tradition as a barrier to progress. When we cling to tradition without question, we risk stagnation. Tradition, by its nature, seeks to preserve the past, but progress requires us to look forward, to imagine what is possible beyond the confines of what has always been. Tradition can become a barrier when it prevents us from seeing new possibilities, from embracing change, and from evolving into the highest version of ourselves. Take, for example, the tradition of consuming animal products. For centuries, this practice has been deeply ingrained in human life, justified by necessity, culture, and habit. But as we awaken to the realities of industrial farming, the environmental cost of meat consumption, and the ethical implications of taking life, we are faced with a choice. Do we continue to uphold this tradition because it is familiar, or do we have the courage to create a new one? Breaking free from tradition does not mean erasing the past, it means learning from it. It means acknowledging the ways in which old patterns have shaped us, while recognizing that they do not have to define us. It means stepping into the unknown with the faith that what lies ahead is brighter, lighter, and more aligned with our true nature. Creating new traditions. When we release the grip of outdated traditions, we open ourselves to the possibility of creating new ones, traditions that reflect the values of compassion, sustainability, and connection. Imagine a world where family gatherings are centered not around the suffering of animals, but around the celebration of life, where meals are not just about sustenance, but about honoring the earth, the sun, and the interconnected web of existence. These new traditions do not have to reject the essence of what came before. They can build upon it, transforming the old into something that serves the present and the future. They can honor the spirit of togetherness, celebration, and gratitude while aligning with the higher frequencies of love and light. The role of tradition in evolution. Tradition is not inherently bad. It is a guide, a reminder of where we have been and what we have learned. But it is not a destination. Humanity's evolution requires us to hold tradition lightly, to honor its wisdom while being willing to let it go when it no longer serves us. This is the paradox of tradition. It is both anchor and sail. It grounds us in the wisdom of the past while giving us the strength to venture into the unknown. But to sail forward, we must be willing to lift the anchor. We must trust that the wind of progress will carry us to new shores, even if we cannot yet see them. An invitation to break free. I invite you to reflect on the traditions that shape your life. Are they in harmony with your values, or do they keep you tied to an identity that no longer feels true? What might it look like to honor the past while embracing a new way of being? How might your life, your family, and your community transform if you had the courage to question what has always been? Breaking traditions is not about rebellion. It is about evolution. It is about stepping into the fullness of who we are and who we are becoming. It is about creating a future that honors the wisdom of the past while embodying the possibilities of the present. This is the work of humanity's evolution, and it begins with each of us, one choice, one question, one tradition at a time. Let us move forward together, honoring where we have been while embracing where we are going. Let us break free from the limitations of the past and step boldly into the light of a new future. Let us create traditions that reflect the truth of who we are, beings of love, light, and infinite potential. Part 3: Navigating Societal and Religious Conditioning. Chapter 10: Compassion and Religion. Compassion is the heartbeat of every great spiritual tradition. It is the core message found throughout sacred texts and teachings, calling us to love, to forgive, and to act with kindness toward all beings. Yet somewhere along the way, this universal principle has often been lost in practice. We profess compassion in our prayers, our rituals, and our hymns, yet fail to extend it fully to the choices we make in our daily lives, especially when it comes to the food we consume and the lives that are impacted by those choices. Religion, in its truest form, is not a set of rigid doctrines, but a pathway to transcendence. It is a guide that helps us align with the divine, that shows us how to live in harmony with the sacred energy that flows through all creation. At its core, religion is an invitation to embody compassion, not just as a concept, but as a way of being. And when we look closely at the teachings of the world's great spiritual traditions, we find that they all point to the same truth, that to live in alignment with the divine, we must extend our circle of compassion to include not just humanity, but all living beings. Compassion in sacred texts. Across cultures and religions, compassion is the cornerstone of spiritual wisdom. In Christianity, we hear the call to love thy neighbor as thyself, a principle that speaks not just to interpersonal relationships, but to the interconnectedness of all life. The teachings of Jesus emphasize kindness, humility, and care for the least among us. How then can we reconcile these teachings with the exploitation of animals, whose suffering, concealed within slaughterhouses, is undeniable and whose lives hold intrinsic value? In Buddhism, the principle of ahimsa, or non-violence, urges us to do no harm to any living being. It is a reminder that our actions ripple outward, affecting not only those directly impacted, but the very energy of the world we inhabit. The Buddha taught that all sentient beings seek happiness and wish to avoid suffering, and that to act with compassion is to honor this shared desire. What could be more aligned with this teaching than choosing a way of life that minimizes harm and maximizes kindness? Hinduism places compassion at its heart, with ahimsa as a guiding tenet. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of the interconnectedness of all life and the importance of living in harmony with nature. Similarly, Islam teaches mercy and kindness, with the Quran stating, "And there is no creature on or within the earth or bird that flies with its wings, except that they are communities like you." 638. This profound recognition of the sanctity of animal life invites us to reflect on our relationship with the creatures who share this planet with us. Even in indigenous and earth-based spiritualities, there is a deep reverence for the interconnected web of life. These traditions teach us that to harm one part of creation is to harm the whole, and that true wisdom lies in living in balance with the natural world. Compassion, then, is not just a moral obligation, but a spiritual practice, a way of honoring the divine within all things. The disconnect between belief and action. If compassion is so central to our spiritual traditions, why do our actions so often fall short of this ideal? Why do we, as individuals and as societies, continue to support systems that cause harm to animals, to the planet, and to ourselves? And the answer lies in a disconnect, a gap between our spiritual beliefs and the practical choices we make. This disconnect is not unique to any one religion or culture. It is a universal struggle, rooted in the complexities of tradition, habit, and societal norms. We are taught to compartmentalize our compassion, to extend it to some beings, while excluding others. We are told that it is acceptable, even necessary, to harm animals for our survival or convenience, and so we turn away from the suffering that our choices create, shielding ourselves from the truth because it feels too painful or too overwhelming to confront. But the time has come to bridge this gap. The time has come to align our spiritual beliefs with our ethical actions, to live in a way that reflects the principles we hold dear. This is not an easy journey, but it is a necessary one. For how can we claim to follow the teachings of love and compassion while turning a blind eye to the suffering of those who are most vulnerable? Aligning beliefs with actions. To align our beliefs with our actions is to embody the teachings of compassion in every aspect of our lives. It is to recognize that the sacred texts we revere are not just words on a page, but invitations to transform the way we live. It is to see that every choice we make, what we eat, what we buy, how we treat others, has the power to either uphold or undermine the principles of our faith. This alignment begins with awareness. It begins with asking ourselves the hard questions. Do my actions reflect the values of compassion, kindness, and mercy that my faith calls me to embody? Am I living in harmony with the divine energy that flows through all creation, or am I contributing to its suffering? These questions are not meant to provoke guilt, but to inspire growth. They are an invitation to step into a deeper, more authentic expression of our spirituality. Compassion as a path to unity. When we align our actions with our spiritual beliefs, we do more than transform ourselves. We contribute to the transformation of the world. Compassion is a unifying force, a bridge that connects us to one another and to the divine. It dissolves the barriers of separation, reminding us that we are all part of the same sacred whole. Imagine a world where compassion, instead of residing solely within the confines of our prayers and rituals, becomes the very essence of our daily interactions. A world where our choices reflect our highest values, where our actions uplift rather than harm, and where our spiritual practices are not just words, but lived experiences. This is the world that is possible when we choose to live in alignment with the universal principle of compassion, an invitation to embody compassion. As you reflect on the teachings of your own faith, I invite you to consider how these teachings can be lived out in your everyday life. What would it look like to extend your circle of compassion to include not just humans, but all sentient beings? How might your choices change if they were guided by the principles of love, mercy, and reverence for life? And what kind of world might we create if we all chose to align our actions with the sacred wisdom of our spiritual traditions? Compassion is not just an ideal. It is a practice, a way of being, and a path to unity. It is the essence of every great religion and the foundation of a world rooted in love. Let us honor this principle by living it fully, by aligning our beliefs with our actions, and by creating a future where compassion is not the exception but the rule. The journey begins with each of us, with the choices we make and the energy we bring into the world. Let us choose compassion, not just in word but in deed, and let us create a world that reflects the divine essence within us all. Chapter 11, Expanding Consciousness. There is a profound truth waiting to be remembered by humanity. We are not separate. We are not isolated fragments, navigating existence alone. We are interconnected, threads in a vast and luminous web of life, each one vibrating with energy, each one influencing the whole. To awaken to this truth is to expand our consciousness, to see beyond the illusion of separateness and into the profound unity that binds us all. Consciousness is not a fixed state. It is a journey, a continual unfolding of awareness. As we grow, we begin to see the connections that were once invisible. We start to understand that our actions ripple outward, touching lives we may never know, shaping realities far beyond our own. We realize that what we consume, how we live, and the energy we bring into the world are not isolated choices. They are threads woven into the collective fabric of humanity. The web of interconnectedness. The Earth itself is a living organism, a vibrant and self-sustaining system where every being plays a role. The trees exhale oxygen for us to breathe. The rivers flow with the water that nourishes our bodies. The animals and plants coexist in intricate and delicate balance. When we see ourselves as separate from this web, we create disconnection and harm. But when we recognize our place within it, we awaken to the sacred responsibility of coexistence. This interconnectedness is not merely physical, it is energetic. The energy we carry, the choices we make, and the intentions we set all contribute to the collective consciousness. When we choose love, compassion, and harmony, we uplift the whole. When we choose harm, fear, and violence, we anchor the collective in denser energies. This is the power we hold, to shape not only our own reality, but the reality of humanity as a whole. The energetic imprint of eating animals. The act of consuming animals is not just a physical transaction, it is an energetic one. Every piece of meat carries with it the energy of the life it once was, the fear it experienced, and the suffering it endured. When we eat these foods, we ingest not only the physical substance, but the energy as well. This energy becomes a part of us, influencing our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. Animal agriculture is a system built on fear and violence. From the moment of birth, these beings are subjected to a cycle of exploitation, confined to spaces that deny their natural instincts, and ultimately slaughtered in conditions that are designed to prioritize efficiency over mercy. This fear, this pain, this violence, it does not disappear. It is absorbed into the very cells of the animals, into the food we consume, and into the collective energy of humanity. When we participate in this system, even unknowingly, we perpetuate the cycles of fear and violence that have shaped our world for centuries. We reinforce the illusion of separation, the idea that we are entitled to dominate, to take, to harm without consequence. But the consequences are all around us, in the destruction of the environment, in the suffering of animals, and in the disconnection we feel from ourselves, each other, and the earth. The path to expansion. Expanding consciousness requires us to question these cycles and to see them for what they are, remnants of an old way of being, one rooted in survival rather than harmony. To awaken is to recognize that these cycles are not inevitable. They are choices, and we have the power to choose differently. When we step away from the consumption of animals, we are not just making a dietary change, we are making a statement. We are declaring that fear and violence no longer have a place in our lives, that we are ready to align with the higher frequencies of love, compassion, and unity. This shift is not only personal, it is collective. Every act of kindness, every choice to reduce harm, sends a ripple into the world, raising the vibration of humanity as a whole. A vision of unity. Imagine a world where this awakening becomes the norm, where humanity lives in alignment with the truth of our interconnectedness. In this world, we no longer see animals as commodities, but as fellow beings, sharing this earth with us in mutual respect and harmony. Our relationships, our communities, and our planet itself transform as we move away from the dense energies of fear and violence and into the lightness of love and compassion. This vision is not a utopia. It is a possibility. It is a future that begins with each of us, with the choices we make and the energy we bring into the world. As we expand our consciousness, we inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect that has the power to shift the collective trajectory of humanity. An invitation to awaken. To expand consciousness is to step into a deeper awareness of who we are and how we are connected. It is to recognize that our actions matter, not just for ourselves, but for the whole. It is to see that every choice, what we eat, how we live, how we treat others, is an opportunity to align with the highest truths of existence. I invite you to reflect on this interconnectedness, to see the ways in which your life touches the lives of others and how their lives touch yours. What energy are you contributing to the collective? How might your choices shift if you saw every action as a thread in the web of life, woven into the fabric of humanity's evolution? This is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about awakening to the power we hold and using it to create a world rooted in love, harmony, and unity. Together, we can break the cycles of fear and violence, not through force, but through the quiet, powerful act of choosing differently. Let us expand our consciousness, not just for ourselves, but for all beings, for the earth, and for the generations yet to come. Let us live in a way that honors the sacred interconnectedness of life, and let us co-create a future where humanity thrives in its highest potential. Chapter 12. Individual choices, collective impact. Every choice you make is a vibration sent out into the universe. It ripples outward, touching people, places, and realities you may never see. We live in an intricately connected world where even the smallest action can spark change. This is the power of individual choice. It is never isolated, never insignificant. It is the seed from which entire revolutions grow. When you decide to live in alignment with your values, To make choices rooted in compassion, you are not just transforming your own life, you are contributing to the awakening of humanity. This is the beauty of conscious living, the realization that your actions carry immense weight, that every decision is an opportunity to uplift the collective energy of the world. The ripple effect of compassion. Imagine dropping a pebble into a still pond. The ripples spread in every direction, extending far beyond the point of impact. This is the effect of your choices. When you choose kindness over harm, love over fear, connection over disconnection, you send waves of light into the collective consciousness. These waves inspire others, awaken hearts, and create a resonance that can shift the trajectory of humanity. Going vegan is one of the most profound ways to create this ripple effect. It is not just a personal decision, it is a statement, a declaration that you are choosing to live in alignment with the principles of compassion, non-violence, and sustainability. It is a choice that transcends the individual, reaching into the realms of the spiritual, the environmental, and the collective. When you choose veganism, you are saying yes to life, life in all its forms, life as sacred, life as interconnected. You are choosing to break the cycles of harm that have perpetuated fear and suffering for centuries. And in doing so, you are contributing to the creation of a new paradigm, one where humanity thrives in harmony with the earth and all its inhabitants. Why veganism is a spiritual revolution? At its core, veganism is not just a dietary choice. It is a spiritual revolution. It is a radical act of love, a commitment to live in alignment with the highest truths of existence. It is a rejection of the old paradigms of domination and exploitation, and an embrace of a new way of being, one that honors the interconnectedness of all life. This revolution begins within. It begins with the decision to see animals not as commodities, but as beings with their own intrinsic value. It begins with the recognition that the earth is not a resource to be consumed, but a sacred home to be nurtured. It begins with the understanding that the energy we carry, the food we consume, and the actions we take all contribute to the collective vibration of humanity. Veganism is a spiritual revolution because it challenges us to grow. It asks us to confront the uncomfortable truths about our systems and ourselves. It calls us to expand our circle of compassion to include not just those who look and think like us, but all beings everywhere. It is a path of awakening, a journey toward greater alignment with the divine essence within us. The power of one. It is easy to feel small in the face of global challenges. Climate change, deforestation, animal cruelty, and social injustice can feel overwhelming, insurmountable. But never underestimate the power of one. Every great movement in history began with individuals who chose to act, who believed in the possibility of change even when it seemed impossible. When you choose veganism, you are not just changing your own life, you're inspiring others to do the same. Your choice becomes a beacon, a light that guides others toward their own awakening. You may never see the full impact of your actions, but trust that they are rippling outward in ways you cannot imagine. Your courage, your commitment, your love, they matter. Imagine if millions, even billions, of people made this same choice. Imagine the collective impact of a humanity that chooses compassion over cruelty, sustainability over destruction, unity over division. This is not a distant dream. It is a possibility waiting to be realized, one choice at a time. The collective awakening. We are living in a time of profound transformation. Humanity is at a crossroads, faced with the choice to continue on the path of separation and harm, or to rise into a new way of being. The choices we make now will shape the future of our planet and the evolution of our species. Your decision to go vegan is a part of this awakening. It is a signal to the universe that you are ready to be a part of the solution, that you are choosing to live in harmony with the principles of love and light. It is an act of faith in the possibility of a better world, a declaration that you believe in the power of collective action to create meaningful change. As more and more individuals awaken to this truth, the ripple effects grow stronger. The energy of compassion spreads, raising the collective vibration and dissolving the dense energies of fear and violence. This is the power of collective impact, the realization that we are not alone, that together we can create a future that reflects the highest aspirations of humanity. an invitation to be the ripple. You have the power to create change, not through grand gestures or extraordinary feats, but through the simple, profound act of choosing love. Every time you choose veganism, every time you make a decision that aligns with your values, you are contributing to the collective awakening. You are a part of the ripple, a part of the revolution, a part of the new earth that is being born. I invite you to see yourself not just as an individual, but as a co-creator of this future. Your choices matter. Your actions matter. Your love matters. Together, we are building a future of compassion and light, one contribution at a time. And as this movement grows, it becomes a beacon for all of humanity, guiding us toward a world where love, kindness, and harmony reign. This is the power of individual choices. This is the magic of collective impact. This is the promise of a spiritual revolution. Let us create it together, one ripple at a time. Part 4, Living a Compassionate, Conscious Life. Chapter 13, Ethical Veganism. Compassion is not a concept. It is a way of life, a principle that extends beyond our thoughts and words into every choice we make. To live compassionately is to honor the sacredness of all life, to see the divine spark in every being, and to align our actions with the values of love and kindness. Ethical veganism is this compassion in action. It is a declaration that we will no longer participate in systems that cause unnecessary harm, that we will no longer turn a blind eye to suffering, and that we will choose non-violence as our guiding light. But to truly embrace ethical veganism, we must be willing to face the truth about animal agriculture, a truth that is often hidden behind euphemisms and carefully curated images. We must confront the realities of an industry that thrives on the exploitation of animals and recognize the profound suffering it inflicts. This is not an easy path, but it is a necessary one. Only by facing the darkness can we transform it into light, the hidden suffering of animal agriculture. Behind every package of meat, every carton of eggs, and every gallon of milk lies a story of lives taken, of suffering endured, of beings who were never allowed to live as nature intended. These stories are not told in advertisements or on product labels. They are kept out of sight, shielded from the public eye, because to see the truth is to question the systems that perpetuate it. In factory farms, animals are treated as commodities rather than sentient beings. They are confined in spaces so small they cannot turn around, deprived of sunlight, fresh air, and the ability to engage in their natural behaviors. Chickens are debeaked to prevent them from pecking each other in their overcrowded cages. Cows are forcibly impregnated to produce milk, only to have their calves taken from them within hours of birth. Pigs, among the most intelligent animals on the planet, are kept in conditions so stressful that many develop ulcers and engage in self-harm. This suffering is not an accident, it is the foundation of the system. Efficiency and profit are prioritized over the well-being of animals, leading to practices that would be unthinkable if done to a dog or a cat. Yet, because these beings are labeled as livestock, their pain is normalized, their lives devalued, and their deaths hidden behind sanitized terms like harvesting. To truly understand the suffering behind animal agriculture is to see these beings not as products but as individuals. It is to recognize that a cow is not beef, that a pig is not pork, that a chicken is not poultry. These are lives, each one unique, each one sacred. And when we see them for who they are rather than what they are labeled, we can no longer justify their suffering for the sake of convenience or tradition. Non-violence as a way of life. Ethical veganism is more than a dietary choice. It is a commitment to non-violence, a way of life that seeks to minimize harm to all beings. Non-violence, or ahimsa, is a principle found in many spiritual traditions. It is the recognition that to harm another is to harm ourselves, that we are all interconnected, and that peace begins not with grand gestures, but with the choices we make every day. To live non-violently is to extend compassion to every corner of our lives. It is to choose foods that do not carry the energy of suffering. It is to support industries and practices that align with kindness and sustainability. It is to speak out against systems of harm, not with anger or judgment, but with love and a vision of what is possible. Non-violence is not passive, it is active, transformative, and rooted in the belief that a better world is not only possible, but necessary. a path to liberation. When we choose ethical veganism, we are not just liberating animals, we are liberating ourselves. We are breaking free from the cycles of harm and disconnection that have weighed humanity down for centuries. We are reclaiming our innate compassion, our ability to live in harmony with the earth, and our power to create change. This liberation is not without challenges. To walk the path of ethical veganism is to swim against the current of a society that normalizes harm. It is to face criticism, misunderstanding, and the weight of systems much larger than ourselves. But it is also to stand in the truth of who we are, beings of love and light, capable of making choices that reflect the highest values of our souls. Every act of non-violence, no matter how small, contributes to this liberation. Every meal prepared without harm, every conversation that plants a seed of awareness, every moment of living in alignment with compassion adds to the collective awakening. Together, these acts form a movement, a revolution of the heart that has the power to transform the world, creating a compassionate future. Imagine a future where ethical veganism is not the exception, but the norm. A future where animals are no longer seen as resources, but as beings with their own rights and intrinsic value. A future where the systems that once caused harm are replaced by ones that nurture, sustain, and uplift. This is not a utopian fantasy. It is a vision of what is possible when we choose compassion over cruelty, connection over consumption, and love over fear. In this future, humanity thrives not at the expense of other beings, but in harmony with them. The energy of violence is replaced by the energy of peace, creating a world where all life is honored and all beings are free to live as nature intended. This is the promise of ethical veganism, not just a way of eating, but a way of living that aligns with the deepest truths of our existence. An invitation to choose compassion. As you reflect on the suffering behind animal agriculture, I invite you to consider what it means to live in alignment with compassion. What would it look like to extend your circle of care to include all beings? How might your choices shift if they were guided by the principles of nonviolence, love, and respect for life? Ethical veganism is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about choosing again and again to live in a way that reflects the values of your heart. It is an invitation to step into a life of greater alignment, a life that uplifts not only yourself, but the world around you. Let us walk this path together, guided by the principles of compassion and non-violence. Let us create a future where suffering is replaced by kindness, where harm is replaced by healing, and where humanity rises to its highest potential. This is the power of ethical veganism, and it begins with each of us here and now. Chapter 14, Environmental Stewardship. The Earth is our home, a living, breathing organism that nurtures us with its abundance, beauty, and life-giving energy. It is a gift, a sacred trust, and our responsibility as its stewards is profound. But somewhere along the way, humanity lost its balance. We began to see the Earth not as a partner in our existence, but as a resource to be exploited. And now, the consequences of that exploitation are undeniable. The environmental cost of animal agriculture is one of the most pressing crises of our time. It is a system that depletes the Earth's resources, pollutes its air and water, and contributes to the destruction of its most precious ecosystems. To truly honor our role as stewards of this planet, we must confront the reality of this harm and take bold, compassionate steps to preserve the Earth for future generations. Veganism is not just a dietary choice, it is a path to healing, a way to align our actions with the rhythms of the natural world and ensure that the Earth's beauty and abundance endure. The environmental cost of animal farming. Animal agriculture is a leading driver of deforestation, water pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and biodiversity loss. It is a system that consumes far more resources than it provides, creating a devastating imbalance that threatens the health of our planet. Consider the forests, the lungs of the earth, which are being cleared at an alarming rate to make way for grazing land and feed crops. The Amazon rainforest, a vital carbon sink, is being reduced to barren fields to meet the global demand for beef. Every tree felled, every acre lost, brings us closer to the tipping point of climate catastrophe. This destruction is not just a loss for the animals who call these forests home. It is a loss for all of us. for the air we breathe and the delicate balance of the planet's climate. The water we depend on is also at risk. Animal agriculture is a voracious consumer of fresh water, using vast amounts to grow feed, hydrate animals, and process meat and dairy products. It takes over 1,800 gallons of water to produce just 1 pound of beef, a stark contrast to the water footprint of plant-based foods. Meanwhile, runoff from factory farms and feedlots pollutes rivers and streams with nitrogen, phosphorus, and harmful bacteria, creating dead zones in our oceans and poisoning the water that sustains life. And then there is the climate. Animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector combined. Methane from livestock, nitrous oxide from manure, and carbon dioxide from deforestation form a toxic trio that accelerates global warming. This is not just an environmental issue, it is a spiritual one. How can we continue to harm the very earth that sustains us, knowing the legacy we are leaving for future generations? The promise of veganism offers a powerful solution to these challenges. By choosing plant-based living, we can dramatically reduce our impact on the planet, conserve its resources, and restore its ecosystems. It is a path of alignment, a way of living that honors the Earth's rhythms and recognizes the interconnectedness of all life. When we choose plants over animals, we reduce the demand for deforestation, allowing forests to regenerate and wildlife to thrive. We conserve water using a fraction of the resources required for animal farming. We cut greenhouse gas emissions, mitigating the effects of climate change and creating a healthier, more stable planet for generations to come. But veganism is more than a practical solution. It is a spiritual act. It is a way of saying, I see you, Earth. I honor you. I will do my part to protect you. It is a recognition that the Earth is not ours to dominate, but ours to care for, to nurture, to coexist with in harmony. This shift is not just about reducing harm. It is about creating a future where humanity lives in partnership with the natural world, where our actions uplift rather than deplete, preserving resources for future generations. The choices we make today will shape the world we leave for those who come after us. Our children, grandchildren, and all the generations yet to be born will inherit the consequences of our actions or our inactions. What kind of world do we want to leave them? One of scarcity and destruction, or one of abundance and harmony? When we choose veganism, we are choosing to preserve the Earth's resources for future generations. We are choosing to leave behind fertile soil, clean water, and thriving ecosystems. We are choosing to be good ancestors, to honor the sacred trust we hold as stewards of this planet. This is not just an environmental responsibility. It is a spiritual one, a calling to live in a way that reflects our deepest values. A vision of renewal. Imagine a world where forests once again flourish, where rivers run clean, and where the air is filled with the songs of birds and the rustle of leaves. Imagine a world where humanity lives in harmony with nature, where our actions reflect reverence for the earth and all its inhabitants. This is not a dream, it is a possibility, and it begins with each of us, with the choices we make and the energy we bring into the world. When we choose veganism, we are not just changing our diets, we are contributing to the renewal of the earth. We are saying yes to life, yes to harmony, yes to a future where humanity thrives alongside the natural world. This vision is within our reach, but it requires courage, commitment, and the willingness to change. It requires us to see the earth not as a resource to be consumed, but as a sacred partner in our existence, an invitation to stewardship. As you reflect on the state of the earth, I invite you to consider your role as its steward. What can you do to protect its resources, to heal its wounds, to ensure its beauty endures? How might your choices change if they were guided by the principles of respect, gratitude, and love for the natural world? Environmental stewardship is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about choosing, again and again, to live in a way that honors the earth and all it provides. It is an invitation to step into a life of alignment, a life that uplifts not only yourself but the planet. Let us walk this path together, guided by the principles of sustainability and compassion. Let us create a future where humanity lives in harmony with the earth, where our actions reflect our deepest values, and where the beauty of this planet is preserved for generations to come. This is the promise of veganism. This is the power of stewardship. This is the vision of a renewed earth. Let us make it a reality. Chapter 15, Health and Vitality. Health is not just the absence of disease. It is the full, radiant expression of life. It is the vitality that allows us to move through the world with joy, purpose, and energy. It is the harmony of body, mind, and spirit, each aspect supporting and uplifting the others. True health is holistic, and it begins with the choices we make every day, choices that can either nourish or deplete us, elevate or weigh us down. A plant-based diet is a powerful pathway to health and vitality. It is not a trend or a restriction. It is an alignment with the energy of life itself. When we choose foods that are vibrant, alive, and free from harm, we are not just feeding our bodies, we are nourishing our souls. We are choosing to live in a way that reflects the harmony we wish to see in the world. And in doing so, we unlock the profound physical, mental, and spiritual benefits of conscious eating. The physical benefits of plant-based living. The human body is a masterpiece of design, a vessel that carries us through the journey of life. It is resilient, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary healing when given the right conditions. A plant-based diet provides those conditions, offering the nutrients, energy, and balance our bodies need to thrive. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds are nature's gifts, brimming with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. These foods are not only rich in nutrients, but also low in the harmful substances found in animal products, such as saturated fats, cholesterol, and hormones. By choosing plant-based living, we reduce our risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. We support healthy digestion, boost our immune system, and enhance our energy levels. We give our bodies the tools they need to heal, regenerate, and flourish. But the benefits of plant-based eating go beyond prevention. They are transformative. Many who adopt this lifestyle report feeling lighter, clearer, and more connected to their bodies. They experience a renewed sense of vitality, as though their cells are alive with the energy of the sun, the earth, and the plants that sustain them. This is not just physical health. It is a state of being that radiates from within, touching every aspect of our lives. The connection between food and energy. Food is energy. It is the fuel that powers our bodies, the substance that becomes our blood, our cells, our very being. When we eat, we are not just consuming calories, we are absorbing the energy of the food we choose. This energy shapes not only our physical health, but also our mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual connection. Plant-based foods carry a light, high-vibration energy. They are alive with enzymes, prana, and the life force of the earth. When we eat these foods, we align ourselves with their energy, allowing it to uplift and sustain us. We feel it in the way our minds clear, our spirits lift, and our bodies hum with vitality. In contrast, animal products carry a denser, lower vibration, shaped by the suffering and fear of the systems that produce them. When we consume these foods, we inherit that energy, feeling its weight in our bodies and spirits. This is why conscious eating is so powerful. It is not just about nutrition, but about alignment. It is about choosing foods that resonate with the energy we wish to carry into the world, foods that support our health, elevate our vibration, and connect us to the flow of life. Aligning body, mind, and spirit health is not just physical. It is a state of harmony between body, mind, and spirit. When these aspects are aligned, we experience a profound sense of well-being, a feeling of being whole and connected to the greater web of life. Plant-based living supports this alignment, offering benefits that extend far beyond the physical. When we nourish our bodies with vibrant, living foods, we create a foundation of strength and vitality. This physical health supports mental clarity, allowing us to think more clearly, focus more deeply, and approach life with greater calm and intention. It also supports emotional balance, reducing inflammation and promoting the production of neurotransmitters that contribute to happiness and resilience. But the alignment does not stop there. Conscious eating is a spiritual practice, a way of honoring the sacredness of our bodies and the interconnectedness of all life. It is an opportunity to express gratitude for the earth's abundance, to cultivate mindfulness in the act of eating, and to connect with the energy of the food we consume. When we approach eating in this way, we transform it from a mundane necessity into a sacred ritual, one that nurtures not just our bodies but our souls. The ripple effect of health. When we prioritize health and vitality, we are not just benefiting ourselves, we are contributing to the well-being of those around us. Our energy, our joy, and our resilience ripple outward, inspiring others to make choices that support their own health. We become examples of what is possible, showing that it is not only possible to thrive on a plant-based diet, but to do so with grace, ease, and abundance. This ripple effect extends to the planet as well. By choosing plant-based living, we reduce the strain on the Earth's resources, lower greenhouse gas emissions, and support a more sustainable food system. Our individual health becomes a part of the collective health, a step toward a future where humanity and the Earth thrive together. An invitation to vitality. As you reflect on your own health, I invite you to consider the role of food in your life. What energy are you bringing into your body? How might your choices shift if you approached eating as an act of love, for yourself, for the earth, and for all beings? What might it feel like to align your diet with the rhythms of nature, to nourish yourself with foods that support your highest potential? Health and vitality are not destinations, they are journeys, practices, and ways of being. They are the result of choices made with intention, choices that honor the sacredness of life and the interconnectedness of all things. By choosing plant-based living, you are not just feeding your body, you are aligning your mind, your spirit, and your energy with the highest frequencies of existence. Let us walk this path together, celebrating the gift of health, the joy of vitality, and the beauty of living in alignment. Let us create a world where wellness is not a privilege but a birthright, a world where every being is supported, uplifted, and nourished. This is the promise of plant-based living. This is the power of health and vitality. Let us embrace it for ourselves and for the future of humanity. Chapter 16, Compassion in Action. Compassion is more than a feeling. It is a force. It has the power to transform lives, mend the broken, and weave connection where there was once division. It is the essence of our shared humanity, a reminder that we are all connected by the threads of love and the sacred spark within each being. But compassion is not meant to be passive. It is meant to be lived, expressed, and embodied in every choice we make. It is action, not just intention. It is the daily practice of kindness, empathy, and respect for all life. Veganism is one of the most profound ways to put compassion into action. It is a practice of choosing love over harm, mindfulness over indifference, and unity over separation. It is a way of living that aligns our values with our actions, creating a bridge between what we believe and how we move through the world. But more than that, it is a daily ritual of honoring life in all its forms, a practice of recognizing the divine in every being and treating them with the respect they deserve. Cultivating empathy and kindness. Empathy is the foundation of compassion. It is the ability to see the world through another's eyes, to feel their joy, their pain, their longing for safety and love. It is a bridge that connects us to the experiences of others, reminding us that their lives are as valuable and meaningful as our own. To cultivate empathy is to open our hearts, to allow ourselves to be moved by the suffering and beauty of the world. Practicing empathy begins with awareness. It begins with seeing, truly seeing, the beings around us, not as objects or commodities, but as individuals with their own desires, fears, and dreams. It begins with imagining what it might feel like to be in their place, to live their lives, to face their struggles. This awareness can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also transformative. It is the first step toward awakening the compassion that resides within us all. Kindness is empathy in action. It is the expression of our interconnectedness, the tangible manifestation of love. It can take many forms: a gentle word, a helping hand, a choice that uplifts rather than harms. Kindness is not complicated. It is simple and profound, a way of being that brings light to the darkest corners of the world. Veganism as a daily practice of love. To live vegan is to live compassionately. It is to extend our circle of care to include all beings, not just those who are familiar or convenient to love, but those who are vulnerable, voiceless, and often unseen. It is a commitment to non-violence, a way of saying, I will not participate in harm, I will choose love. Every meal, every purchase, every decision becomes an opportunity to practice this love. When we choose plant-based foods, we're choosing to nourish our bodies without causing harm to animals. When we support cruelty-free products, we are choosing to honor the dignity of all life. When we speak out against exploitation, we are choosing to stand for justice and compassion. Veganism is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about doing our best every day to live in a way that aligns with our values. It is about recognizing that our choices matter, that they ripple outward to shape the world around us. It is about embodying the principles of kindness, empathy, and respect, not just in extraordinary moments, but in the quiet, ordinary rhythms of daily life. Transforming the world through compassion. Compassion is contagious. When we live with kindness and empathy, we inspire others to do the same. Our actions create a ripple effect, touching lives we may never know, planting seeds of awareness and awakening in the hearts of those around us. This is the power of living compassionately. It transforms not only ourselves, but the world. Imagine a world where compassion is the guiding principle. A world where animals are no longer exploited, where the earth is treated with care, and where humanity lives in harmony with the natural world. Imagine a world where love is not the exception but the rule, where every being is seen, valued, and honored. This world is not a distant dream. It is a possibility waiting to be realized. And it begins with us, with the choices we make and the lives we lead. By choosing veganism, we are choosing to be part of this transformation, to create a future where compassion reigns. An invitation to live compassionately. As you reflect on the role of compassion in your life, I invite you to consider how you can put it into action. How might your choices shift if they were guided by empathy and kindness? What would it look like to live each day as a practice of love and respect for all life? Living compassionately is not about grand gestures. It is about small, consistent acts of care. It is about being mindful of the impact of our choices, about choosing connection over convenience, and about seeing every moment as an opportunity to align with the values of our hearts. It is about creating a life that uplifts not only ourselves, but everyone and everything we touch. Let us walk this path together, guided by the principles of compassion and non-violence. Let us create a world where kindness is the foundation of all we do, where love is the energy that moves us, and where every being is free to live as nature intended. This is the power of compassion in action. This is the promise of veganism. Let us embrace it for ourselves, for the animals, and for the future of humanity. Conclusion: a new paradigm for humanity. Humanity stands at the dawn of a new era, a time of profound transformation and awakening. We are being called to rise above the limitations of the past, to transcend the cycles of harm and disconnection that have defined us for so long, and to step into a future where compassion, harmony, and love guide our every choice. This is not just a shift in behavior, it is a revolution of the soul, a collective movement toward a new paradigm for humanity. Veganism is at the heart of this transformation. It is more than a lifestyle, it is a path to inner peace, spiritual growth, and global harmony. It is a way of living that aligns us with the highest truths of existence, that all life is sacred, that we are interconnected, and that the energy we put into the world shapes the reality we create. Through veganism, we have the power to heal not only our bodies, but our spirits, our relationships, and our planet. It is a choice that ripples outward, touching lives, inspiring change, and planting the seeds of a brighter future. A path to inner peace. The journey of veganism begins within. It is a choice to live in alignment with our deepest values, to honor the compassion that resides in our hearts, and to create harmony between our actions and our beliefs. When we choose to live without causing harm, we experience a profound sense of peace, a peace that comes from knowing we are contributing to the well-being of all life. This peace is not passive, it is transformative. It clears the mind, softens the heart, and opens the spirit to deeper connection and purpose. It is a reminder that true strength lies not in domination, but in kindness, not in taking, but in giving. It is an invitation to embody the qualities of love, empathy, and respect in every aspect of our lives. A path to spiritual growth. Veganism is also a path of spiritual awakening. It challenges us to expand our circle of compassion, to see the divine in all beings, and to recognize our role as stewards of the earth. It calls us to live with intention, to choose foods and practices that uplift our energy and connect us to the rhythms of the natural world. It is a practice of mindfulness, a way of honoring the sacredness of every meal, every choice, and every interaction. Through this practice, we deepen our connection to the divine essence within ourselves and the world around us. We begin to see that the separation we once believed in was an illusion, that we are not isolated individuals but part of a greater whole. This realization is not just intellectual, it is felt, a knowing that reverberates in our hearts and transforms the way we live. A path to a harmonious world. Imagine a world where compassion is the guiding principle. A world where animals are no longer exploited, where the earth is treated with reverence, and where humanity lives in harmony with all life. This is the world that veganism envisions, not as a distant dream, but as a tangible reality, a future that is within our reach if we choose to create it. Veganism is not just about individual transformation, it is about collective awakening. Every choice we make sends a ripple into the world, inspiring others to awaken to their own potential for compassion and change. Together, these ripples become waves that have the power to reshape systems, cultures, and paradigms. This is the promise of veganism, that through our individual actions, we can create a world that reflects the highest aspirations of humanity. An invitation to change. Change is never easy, but it is always possible. It begins with a single step, a willingness to question the familiar and embrace the unknown. If you are reading these words, you have already taken that first step. You have opened your heart and mind to the possibility of a new way of being, a way that honors life in all its forms. I invite you to take this journey further. Explore veganism not as a set of rules, but as an expression of love, an opportunity to align your actions with your values. Experiment with plant-based meals, support cruelty-free products, and learn about the impact of your choices. Every step you take, no matter how small, contributes to the awakening of humanity and the healing of our planet. A call to action. The time for change is now. The earth is calling, the animals are calling, and your own soul is calling you to rise into the fullness of who you are. Together, we have the power to create a world where kindness is the foundation of all we do, where love is the energy that moves us, and where every being is free to live as nature intended. Share this message. Inspire others with your choices, your words, and your example. Envision a brighter future and hold that vision in your heart. The journey may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. For every act of compassion, every choice to reduce harm, every step toward alignment with love is a step toward a new paradigm for humanity. Let us walk this path together, guided by the principles of compassion, non-violence, and respect for all life. Let us create a world that reflects the truth of who we are, beings of light, connected by the threads of love and capable of extraordinary transformation. This is our moment. This is our calling. This is the future we are meant to create.